Can I successfully bring Jurassic World dinosaurs back to life? That, peeps, is my mission for today. I'm going to be going out into the wild and taking photos with Hammond Collection dinosaurs in an attempt to master the art of toy photography. So, with the digital release of Jurassic World Rebirth only a few days ago, I thought I'd take you all on a journey with me to bring these magnificent creatures to life once more. But to do that, I first need to do something very dangerous, very risky, and that's go outside and touch grass.
No, stop! What are you doing? What are you doing? What are you doing? What are you doing?
Hey peeps, it's the Pink King here, and for those of you who are wondering where this video came from, I asked you all a while ago whether you'd be interested in me, well, shining a light and tempting toy photography, and an overwhelming amount of you really wanted to see me try this, so here we are. But first, what is toy photography? Well, it's when people will take toys or certain action figures and pose them in a way to create a specific scene. This is actually a really interesting art that the Jurassic community have done for the longest time now. But I had a few questions going into this. How do they choose locations? Do they work with the environment into the photo? And can a complete photography noob like me find a way to perhaps capture the perfect shot? In order to answer that, I'm going to be using the Hammond Collection Allosaurus and the Hammond Collection Carnotaurus, as not only were they a pair in Dominion, but Carnotaurus is my favourite dinosaur of all time, if you couldn't already tell. By the way, I took all these photos with my iPhone 12, so nothing fancy today, it's all pretty standard equipment. But if any of you guys watching this video do toy photography for a living, then be sure to reach out to me on Instagram or Twitter perhaps, and maybe we could collab in a potential part 2, who knows. But with that out of the way, let's get into the touching of the grass. Firstly, I actually took a few photos of my Carnotaurus in my back garden. Not really trying to do anything specific, this was more of a play around with the idea of what I could do, essentially. He's sticking his dumb face in a hole. But overall, these test photos I feel were kinda decent, if boring, with no real story at all going on. So, in order to get interesting, I decided to set out to my local park just to see what would be a good fit, essentially. And here is where my first question came into effect. How do photographers choose locations? Well, for me, as the figures I had were fairly small, I decided to try and get a bit creative with it, in particular with where I shot, as I wanted to make sure that these figures looked as big and real as possible, and not, well, toys. So to start off with, I decided to shoot in a more lower space, underneath some shrubbery, to make it feel like a sort of closed off forest, and the results here were pretty mixed. They were either okay or a bit goofy, but this shot in particular I'm actually quite fond of, as it really felt like a random photo taken by one of those sort of motion detected cameras you'd see in like the Amazon rainforest that take pictures of like jaguars or bears. I don't know, it really feels like one of those. I kind of like it. It's simple, but I really feel like it was effective. It's just an Allosaurus peacefully wandering through a forest, and I don't know, that's really comforting to me. I don't know why. What about you, Real Me? What are we feeling? He loves it. But as I moved on from the low ground, I actually found myself a really interesting spot. It's hard to see in the camera shots I took, but it was a really steep hill that was just begging to be used for a classic roaring shot. Fun fact, I actually busted up my ankle by slipping on this hill and slicing it against a rock. So just know that when I took these photos, I took it with blood practically gushing from my ankle. He seems to think it's funny. But yeah, these shots were really interesting to me because it was the same pose, but shot at different angles, and here I learned the camera is almost a character in of itself. Despite being in the same pose, the slight differences in angle suddenly creates a whole new scene and feeling. Like this one, it feels very triumphant, almost glorious, but this one feels much more mysterious, with the Allo being so far away from the camera, adding an extra layer of intrigue. Now hold on peeps, I gotta ask, do you want to be featured in a video? Just like the awesome Blonde Ding Dong and Empty Emmy? Then you need to listen up, alright, because I'm going to be picking random subscribers and giving them a shout out in future videos just like this. So if you want to have a chance to be shouted out and join the Cool Kids Club, then all you gotta do is subscribe. Subscribe right now and tell me in the comments saying that you subscribed in order to have a chance to be featured in a future video. I'm on a mission to surpass a certain Slime the Scrabble, so I need your help by subscribing in order to overtake her. Join the Pig Nation right now, and if you want to be shouted out, then all you gotta do is subscribe. And who knows, your name might be the one featured in a future video. But with that, let's get back into the photos. In fact, I really liked this sort of cliff setting, as it helped to give me a few ideas and the lighting was rather nice, so instead of moving on right away, I decided to stay a little bit and finally bring out the Carnotaurus. Now, I may be a bit biased, but I really like these Carnotaurus shots. They feel really strong, they give off that nice Jurassic feeling I'm aiming for. Just ignore the obvious wooden fence in the background. It was here where I wanted to get a bit creative by making the Allosaurus and Carnotaurus have a fight, because the setting of backdrop of a cliff was just too good not to use, let's be honest. Now, I don't know if it comes through, but I actually took a lot of inspiration from the T-Rex and Spinosaurus fight in Jurassic Park 3 when designing this particular scene, with both dinosaurs fighting in a heavily jungle-like area, with them not being afraid to get nasty. Now, this process was actually really difficult to pull off, not only in posing but angling the camera, because as it turns out, it's really hard to get two dinosaurs to fight without making it look like just two toys. But out of all the photos I took of this scene, I feel like this one was truly the best. It really came together exactly as I envisioned. A nice vicious struggle that had depth and a feeling to it. Could it have been done better? Probably. I'm not an expert at this, so I imagine there's probably a lot of you in the comments typing now all the stuff that you would do to change or improve it. But for my lack of experience in this field, I don't know, I was particularly proud of this shot. But once that was done, I eventually moved on to the final location. And that was a much more open and sandy area. In particular, I found this really interesting log that looked like it was a collapsed tree, so, I thought I'd show off more of the animalistic behaviour with this, by showing many of the more playful sides to the creatures, like looking under or over the log, and even scratching itself like a bear would on a tree. Did Allosaurus actually do this in real life? Who knows? But it feels like it adds a lot more charm and personality to this particular figure here. I don't know, I really like that. Heck, I even tried to recreate the pose I liked from Jurassic Junkie with his Rex, to mixed results. Sadly, I don't have a Hammond Collection Rex of my own, but if any of you want to send me one, then by all means. But to round off this adventure, I took both dinosaurs more into the sandy area to mimic a sort of drought aesthetic. And I got some really interesting shots here, like the dead Carnotaurus or the Allosaur just wandering through. They definitely felt like real animals more so here than they did anywhere else, in my opinion. I don't know, maybe it's because the forest made them look very small, but in this more open area with nothing really to compare them to, they definitely look a lot bigger, in my opinion. Pretty flowers. But with all that being said, what did I learn from all this? Well, I actually learned quite a bit. This was not an easy task to do by any means. Trying to figure out specific lighting, find poses that were not only dynamic but could balance, was certainly a tough task. And it's here I just want to say to any professional photographers who might be watching, I respect you. Like, I respect you before, but I have a whole other level of admiration for you now, because this is a very delicate, if not painful art form that requires a real imagination in order to make it work. So I just want to say to any photographers watching this video, major props to you, because this was a lot of fun and I really enjoyed doing this. Be sure to let me know in the comments whether I did a good job or what I did was god-awful. But if you enjoyed today's video, then be sure to leave a like, and who knows, if this video does well, I might try this again in future with even more figures that will drain my bank account. But with that, peeps, it's been the Pig King here, and I will see you all next time.